I've been seeing y'all comments. I'm seeing comments about just the fear and trauma of traveling with people, taking trips with women, and how much of a disaster that has the potential to be, how scary that is. And it's just like, it is a little scary, but when I say I got stories, I'm just gonna give y'all the tea and the lessons that I've learned, the people that I've met, the relationships that started from overseas. I'm gonna talk about the altercations that I might have had with people. But I'm also talk about like the beautiful moments, the lit moments, the fun times, and the vlogs and all of that too. Because I feel like y'all like my story times. I feel like y'all be feeling my stories. So in this story, we gonna talk about the time I took a trip with a group of complete strangers and exactly how that went. Let's get into it. So a little bit of background about me. 29-year-old woman from the south side of Chicago. Writer for a living. I write right now for an advertising agency, and then I also freelance and ghostwrite novels and things like that for different authors. And I recently experienced multiple strokes, aka blood clots in my brain, due to a vaginal birth control ring that I have been taking for 2 years. I don't like using the word blindness, but that's basically what the stroke ended up causing in my right field of vision. Just saying all that to say that I don't look like a lot of the things that I've been through. When I get the time and when I stop being lazy, you might see a novel or a book written by me. Written by yours truly. I'm just saying. Another thing about me is I love to travel. Travel is in my heart. Seeing a different part of the world is in my heart. And that passion got sparked from this really, really unique study abroad program that I got the opportunity to experience when I was in college. That experience was called Semester at Sea. Now, Semester at Sea is a multi-country study abroad program where you travel to a minimum of like 10 to 12 countries over the course of a 4-month semester. When I applied for it, I thought it was fake. It was so unique and so crazy that after graduating college and having that unique experience that I just have to make and talk about in another video, I was just on a roll trying to figure out how else I can travel. What are other ways that I could travel? And so after I graduated school, I started to look into different organized travel groups, either through Facebook groups or the app Meetup, different women's groups. Some were co-ed groups. If they had an email subscription, I would sign up for that. I stayed in a few of these groups for a while, just seeing what the information was. Did they have a history of actually taking trips and traveling and being serious about that? At the same time, I was skeptical and I was like really cautious of the different risks of giving my money to some of these groups or something like that, because some of these groups were scamming and some of that mess even made the news. I'm not even gonna say which group it was. At the same time, I could tell that some of these groups were legitimate and were serious. Fast forward to this very random night. I was just getting ready for bed, minding my own business, and I looked at my phone and see an email notification saying, "We're going to Greece." Say less. Say less. When I tell y'all, Greece was on my bucket list real bad. Greece was one of those where it's like, I want to prove to myself, I'm like, is this Photoshop or is this real? Flying dress, the blue and white, yeah. Now, the bulk of the trip was set to be in this island called Naxos. I was more familiar with more of the popular Greek islands like Santorini, Mykonos, but what I knew was that like all of them were not far away from each other. 10-day trip to Naxos. It was called a slowcation. So like the bulk of the trip would just be relaxing and doing whatever you want to do. It wasn't like a strict mandatory schedule of tours and things like that, but there were options for different activities. There was a boat tour. I think there was like a private tour. There was a cooking class. When I saw that there was like this fully fleshed out itinerary with all of these interesting activities and options, and some of the transportation was included, some of the food was included, and somehow this was all under 5K. The name of this group that sent the email was called Globe Drifters. So when I looked at the details of the trip and saw that it was coming from one of the groups that I was already considering taking seriously, that deposit was deposited. Like, that was a wrap. Now, a little bit about the dynamic of globe drifters. From like the photos that I saw and like the different trips that they would take, I could just tell that I was going to be the youngest woman there, and more than likely the only black woman there. It was given very much Golden Girls. But given just like that semester experience that I was talking about, and just a lot of my life experiences, work experiences, when I looked at the situation and just saw the dynamic, I'm like, you know, it is what it is. Like, this ain't my first rodeo just sticking out like a sore thumb. You know, I'm here. I belong here. You know, that's just life. I'm like, I hope they ready for my energy. I hope they ready for my vibe. I'm excited. And so very much Golden Girls, like, but it was getting serious. I'm like, it is what it is. These women are serious. They are not playing about these trips that they are taking. At this point, when I tell my stories, there's always either red flags or a green flag. This is what I noticed about them, that just a lot of green flags stuck out. For one, like I said, they were very organized. Not even just in how they planned the trip and the itinerary, organizing the payments where you could pay on it, but they were really easy to get in touch with. It was easy to get in touch with who was in charge. It was easy to get in touch and ask questions about anything that you might want to know about leading up to the trip. Once you book the reservation, you could check the receipts and see that the hotel was actually, that was included in the trip, was actually confirmed. Everything that you booked involving the trip was legitimately confirmed if you went back and followed up on those reservations. There was an option for travel insurance. I don't know how much money people be thinking that I got, but I'm just one of the people that just like, you know, I do a little math. I save my little $4 and then, you know, I pay on what I could pay on. You know, I didn't pay that whole trip in one payment. I did not pay for that whole trip in one payment, but you know, they had an option for you to, you know, put your deposit down, just pay on it over time and enjoy yourself. I also appreciated that, like, once you confirmed your deposit and your room and everything like that, you were put into a group chat with the members that you were going to be traveling with in the future. So the group chat included our group hosts from the group, and then it also included a local host, which was also the hotel owner of the hotel that we would be staying at in Naxos. I believe it was about 14 of us, and we were from different parts all over the states, different states. I know it was 4 ladies from Chicago, including me, and then there were a few of us from California, I think 2 ladies from Florida, and then 2 somewhere from like Seattle or Oregon, something. I don't know, but it was a good mix of like cross country, you know, women all over the place. And so once we realized where everybody was from, the ladies in Chicago, we ended up starting our own individual chat and meeting up in person in Chicago and going for lunch, dinner, whatever the case may be, and just, you know, figuring out what we wanted to do and specifically book our flights. So we booked our flights to Greece together and to come back to Chicago together. And as I expected, their backgrounds were completely different from mine. A lot of them were retired. Then some were stay-at-home moms. One was a writer like me, which was really cool. But overall, like, all good vibes. Like, you know, they seemed real serious about just like enjoying the trip and stuff like that. So we booked our flights together, me and the Chicago ladies, and the way that we had to book the flight is there's no direct flight to Naxos. So the first city where all the ladies would meet is in the mainland of Greece, which is Athens. So some of the women that I had never met before, I met up with them in Athens and we got dinner. That was really nice. That following day, just a quick little 30-minute flight, basically from the mainland to the island. When we arrived in Naxos, it's like a cute little airport, and it's just so small where I think it was just only one terminal to get your bags, and everybody's luggage is just like piled on top of each other. It was cute. And so I get my bag. When I come out of the terminal, there's a driver. That was a driver that was going to take me from the airport to the hotel, and that was arranged by the group. So he shows up with my little name, and I'm just like, you know what? Yeah. Just from that little moment right there, I was like, okay, yeah, I see how this trip about to go. So I pull up to the hotel and the group host is there, Jojo, welcoming me with a glass of champagne. For some reason, I end up being the very first of the ladies to arrive to the hotel. And so at that point, I get to my room and it's given very much You know, like if you ever watch Bad Girls Club and the first girl that gets there walking to the mansion and is given very much just like main character. Well, period. Already I'm living in a prayer. I just know that like 7-year-old me was just smiling on the inside. It was just like, this is for you. Around this time where I booked this trip, I had just escaped a really unhealthy relationship, and it just left me, that shit ain't break me, I ain't even gonna say broken, but it just left me like trying to figure things out. And I had all of these plans with this person on what life was gonna look like, and I didn't really map out what it was gonna look like without them in it. But very quickly I had to just like, come on, Kelsey, like wake up, wake up, wake up, Kelsey, wake up, wake the hell up, you still that bitch. So when I was booking a room, I was like, get the penthouse suite. Remember the movie Last Holiday where sis had just went to a trip and just used her savings to just ball out and do whatever she wanted to do, so much to the point where she was just like drawing attention and people were just trying to figure out, who is this beautiful black successful woman? What does she do for a living? Who is she? What's her energy? What's she about? And I'm like, yeah, this, I know exactly what this trip is about to give. And 7-year-old me is smiling on the inside. And so immediately I get into my room and I just start getting the pictures, getting the content, enjoying my new room and stuff like that. And then the rest of the ladies start to come in. Since this is night 1 of our first night in Naxos, we have an official welcome dinner included by the group where we all get to mingle and get acquainted with each other and get to meet each other and talk about how the whole gist of the trip is going to go. That first night I ended up going out and I was able to just call the hotel and get transportation arranged for me, which was just another thing that I appreciated. That following day we had a private tour in the mountains of Naxos, which was really interesting. It was one of the optional things that you could do. And so I believe most of the group came out there. Transportation again was included, that took you through the mountains, and then a tour guide giving us facts about Naxos. I believe like we had a meal that was included too. I think we did even like a little bit of like wine tasting. The weather was raggedy that day, but at the same time it was still a really interesting, nice day, and I was glad that I joined the tour that day. Fast forward, the next day was a yacht tour to an island called Paros. At this point it's very clear we're going to be doing a handful of island hopping. I think that was like the initial full first fun day where all the ladies really got to connect and kind of like bond and be silly and have fun. There was like one of the oldest members, I think she was definitely somewhere in her 80s, and it was funny because on the trip, you know, it's still like predominantly a women group, but you can bring a friend or bring whoever you want to bring. And so I'm not gonna say her name, but the oldest member in the group, she brought her man that wasn't her man. And I don't know why I thought like this fragile older lady, like I would need to watch out for her when it came to like her getting in the water and getting in the ocean and jumping off the boat and stuff like that. You know, I'm just keeping my eye on her and I'm just like watching her for some reason. First of all, when she was ready to get into that water, she came out in her full diving gear. Like sis was ready for the ocean. I needed her to save me. I love it. I ain't mad at it at all. I'm like, Lord, if you're showing me that this is what my life gonna look like when I'm 80, I ain't mad at it, okay? I don't know where the grandkids at or what they think or what's going on, but Granny said I'm still a baddie, I'm still traveling, I'm still enjoying life, and I'm jumping off this yacht. And I'm just like sitting there just watching her like in the background, sipping my little drinky drink, and I'm just like, you know what? Period. The following day was a speedboat tour to Paros, and this was a little bit different because we're just going directly to the main area of Paros where you could shop around or just do whatever you wanted to do. I just had this tendency to just like wander off on my own a lot of times. Paros was a little bit different from Naxos in a way where it seemed to be like the more bougier of the islands, where Naxos kind of reminded me of like a laid back beachy kind of energy, and then Paros seemed to be like more like I don't know what I'm trying to say. I don't know the word. So fast forward to day 4. Day 4 is a cooking class. The cooking class is held at a family-owned restaurant called Platia, where they also have a beautiful, huge farm and garden that they tour the guests around. At this point, I'm just participating in all the activities that are included. Fast forward to the following day. At a certain point, there were no more arranged activities for the remaining half of the trip. There was the time to explore the main Naxos island or to travel to a different island wherever you wanted to go. I know that Santorini was on my mind because of that flying dress on my bucket list, doing the flying dress photo shoot. If you know, you know. That was just like truly one of those things where I was like, if I ever get blessed to go to Greece, that's the one thing I'm gonna make happen. I gotta figure out a way to do it. So once we had remaining free days, somehow everybody ended up planning to travel to Santorini on that same day. And so although this wasn't originally included in the itinerary that was planned by the group, JoJo was such an amazing host. She still helped accommodate us with transportation. If anybody needed help booking a ferry to get to Santorini, a hotel on where to stay, she ended up just arranging for all of us to stay in the same villa once we got to Santorini. It was a really huge help because although Santorini can be a quick, easy day trip, it's not as easy. You want to spend the night there if you're coming from Naxos. It just makes more sense to just get the full day, the full experience, and then go back the following day. So JoJo arranging and helping everybody to be able to stay all at the same villa, it just worked out perfectly. And I really appreciated, you know, how awesome and helpful she was in that. So once we got off the ferry, I ended up meeting the photographer that I booked the shoot with. And I'm kind of like still like touching up my makeup, getting ready for like this real iconic moment. And it was just as beautiful as I expected. I don't even know how to explain the feeling to just coming all the way from where I come from and then standing on top of Greece. Yeah, I don't know how to explain that feeling, but it was a blessing. It was not Photoshop. Very much so beautiful that I just wanted to cry. But I ain't cried because I had a photo shoot, okay? Period. Those pictures came out absolutely amazing and I was really happy. Once the photo shoot was over, got to the villa. The Santorini villa was insanely gorgeous and I believe it was called Thermes Luxury Villas. The villa, it literally sits on top of the mountain and it almost had me wishing that I spent more time in Santorini, but I wasn't mad about any way this trip was arranged at this point. And it was very much, yeah. Following day, we returned back to Naxos. For the remainder of that trip, everything started to make sense on why the bulk of that trip was chosen to be in Naxos and why it was called a slowcation. Okay. It made so much sense. So this is what I picked up about my whole experience in those 3 different islands that I got to see. Perils was like the bougie cousin, special occasion, shop till you drop. That's the vibe that I picked up. And Santorini, I don't want to use the word overhyped, but it was crowded. It was a lot going on. Outside of the flying dress, which was definitely one of the most iconic moments of the experience and just in my life overall. Outside of that, Santorini is very touristy. Some people might like that, but it was also just really crowded, really packed, and it made so much sense why Naxos was just the perfect hidden gem. I almost feel like gatekeeping how beautiful and chill and relaxed Naxos was, but I ain't gonna do y'all like that. I don't know how much money people think that I got, but I got $3, okay? And I definitely came back from that trip with $3 because girl, no, I'm just playing. But it could give very much like just looking like this extremely expensive, unattainable place. But once you are spending each day in these different Greek islands, things aren't really that expensive, even when you convert it over to US dollars. Like I want to say for some reason, like I ate so much Greek food, just for some reason it just hit different. I don't know what they be putting in our food over here in the States, but like we need to take some notes. I thought that I was lactose intolerant, but low-key I think I'm just American lactose intolerant. At a certain point I was eating all types of cheese, yogurt, dairy, gelato, ice cream, whatever. I was just picking up all of this dairy, and I was not getting bloated. I never felt sick. I was eating all and any and every type of food, and just picking up every pita, every gyro. I say gyro, I know it's supposed to say gyro, but I'm from Chicago, period. But anyway, I could eat so much, and I was never bloated. I never felt sick. I never felt overstuffed. And I was eating all of this food, all types of just different food for the entire day, and I wouldn't even spend over 60 euro. I wasn't spending as much money as I think people would perceive or assume. Greece just gave like bougie vibes overall, even when things weren't overpriced and expensive, if that makes sense. Even their stray animals just looked so put together. Even the stray cats were just very fluffy and healthy looking. When I see stray cats over here, it's giving crack or meth. I don't know what these cats be eating, but I don't know, they just look well fed. I'm like, these are stray cats? Like, why do they look like that? I'm not even a cat person, but these stray cats, they were just so like organized that they would meet up in groups. I would see these groups of cats, they would go meet up by the trash can, and I think what they were discussing is how they would like look cute and seduce tourists out of getting them food. I think that's what they was talking about. Everything over there was just cute. It was on point. Greece was on point. And for the rest of this trip, it made sense why it was a slowcation, because I didn't have the energy to just do anything else. Originally went there with all these plans to just jump to every island, spend this many days at this island, this many days at that island, go to Santorini, go to Mykonos. But at that point, I was happy that I got to see Santorini, but I didn't have an island hop or go anywhere else after that. So for the remaining half of that trip, I just really laid back and relaxed. And like I said, I bonded with just so many of these ladies on different levels. I was able to connect and network, learn a little bit more about the ladies that I was traveling with. One of, I want to say like my closest travel buddies on the trip was a 70-year-old white woman named Didi. If she wanted to go to the beach, I knew we were going to the beach. Or if I thought about going to the beach, Didi was down to go to the beach. Didi had her bikini, she was ready. And so I reflected back on the fact that I might not have told y'all this, but when I first arrived in Athens during that flight from Chicago to Greece, we had a layover in Turkey. And I don't know if like the layover, the connecting flight was just too close to when we arrived there, but somehow we only had like 20 minutes to get to our connected flight. For whatever reason, I thought it would be cute to wear these high wedges in the airport, like I wasn't gonna have to walk nowhere, and I would just just walk through the airport being cute. What I did not realize is that I was gonna have to use some of that old track strength and sprint through this airport in my wedges. I should have took them off, but I didn't. So my feet was tore up. And then after that, when we got to the mainland Athens, I decided to do a tour of Acropolis. Acropolis is like one of the ancient ruins where you gotta go up this hill. I ain't took these wedges off yet. Why? Because my luggage was left in Turkey. I made it on the connected flight, but my luggage did not make it on that connected flight. So the rest of my comfortable shoes are in my luggage, which was left in Turkey. So I'm walking up the hill, my feet are already tore up. I forgot that this had even happened because I was having so much fun on the rest of this trip. But the rest of that trip, my feet were just like destroyed. So I'm at the beach, and usually I just don't pay attention to whatever people be selling, but when one of the vendors or hustlers or whatever walked by talking about like they offering foot massages, me and Didi looked at each other and we just like, you know what? Yeah. And so that's just how the rest of the trip went. A beautiful, relaxing slowcation with no drama. One thing I will say, and like I said, I'm not gonna leave nothing out, but like I said, the hotel owner had access to our WhatsApps and stuff like that, and he was a very helpful and seemingly professional host locally and helping us with any questions or any assistance or anything that we needed. But there was one time that he messaged me personally, and I was just like, where's this going? And he said that he wanted to, what was the message? I'm gonna go back and pull up the screenshots, but something like he was meeting up with his two friends that were in town and wanted to invite me. Then out of nowhere he was like, oh, they're not coming, but me and you can still go out. First of all, you old. I'm like, first of all, be for real. Them friends that you was talking about never existed. You like, and on top of that, be professional. sir. The fact that you had to like message me in such like an immature, secretive way, it just made me want to put an extra lock on my hotel door. Like, it didn't present like an extreme threat of danger or anything, but it's just like, sir, come on now. I told some of the ladies about it and they're just like, you good, we got you. And so that was what it was, you know. I think he was just like, I'm like, men never get too old for the shenanigans. Like, what? Sir. No, all around, like, I didn't know what to really expect, you know, traveling with this group. And anytime that I step into an environment where I'm the only Black woman, I'm not afraid to, you know, step into these places, because I feel like there's an experience or an opportunity that I'm meant to see or that I belong in. So it's like, I ain't scared of that. But bracing myself to be treated differently or to be looked at differently, because I am different. And I'm bracing myself for the negative experiences and the microaggressions and stuff like that. But it was none of that, you know. Obviously I had braids in my hair at the time and everybody want to know about my braids. Like, anytime, like, if you're just a Black woman and you travel, this is why, like, I just encourage Black women to just get out there and travel, because like, you gonna stand out, and it's not in a bad way, okay? You know, they wanted to know about my braids, as everybody else in Greece did. And overall, I just really appreciated this experience. If you look at any of my other stories that talk about travel or the people that I've traveled with, one thing you're gonna know, whether it's a good experience with the people that I traveled with, or a bad one, or a crazy one, or a messy one, or anything like that, one thing about me, I'm gonna make the best out of the situation and make the best out of that travel experience, because that's what it's about. And so all I could say is Greece owed me nothing. And as far as traveling with a group of complete strangers, I wasn't mad at it. I wasn't mad at it at all. I really appreciate specifically Globe Drifters. I'll leave more information about Globe Drifters specifically, but if you are a person that loves to travel and you just don't want to have to depend on anybody else's schedule to join you, but at the same time you're not ready to solo travel, a travel group is a good thing to consider. Organized travel groups are not for everybody, but it's something to consider depending on what you're looking for. From my personal experience, I had an amazing time. I do have a bit of partial blindness that I'm dealing with, but at the same time, my brain is young, healthy, and strong, just like me. And day by day, I'm just thanking God for how he has blessed me. I was staying with family for a few months, and they've just been like extremely amazing in just supporting me and uplifting me in every way possible through this unexpected weird storm, and making sure I get to the appointments that I need to get to and stuff like that. But change of scenery, I am back. I'm back on my own. I'm back on my own. And God has blessed my vision to recover so much to the point where I'm back driving again. I got cleared to drive. And, you know, at the same time, there's different medications and stuff that I'm off and on, and just some weird things happening that I just got to make separate videos and talk about what's been going on as far as like with my health, and how this crazy health scare and health event is going, and how I'm recovering from it. And at a certain point, you know, even though that's what I'm dealing with right now, I'm gonna get back out there and see more of the world. This ain't the end. You know, a little bit about strokes. Blood clots can form in different areas, and a stroke is essentially a blood clot that forms in your brain. And so one of these doctors that I've been seeing, they know that I love to travel. What he told me is that it presents a risk of blood clots if you fly in economy class. And so he actually said that traveling in first class is good for my health. Look it up. Okay. So with that being said, we're going through a storm right now, but don't be surprised if you see a whole lot of bougie activities very soon, okay? At the heart of it all, I love to travel, and I got so much I could say about travel and so much I could just say about life. When I tell y'all I got stories, I just got stories. I got stories about traveling with a group of complete strangers, traveling with different types of people, traveling and learning how to deal with being treated in different ways as a Black woman, or just being treated as a woman overall in some of these places. And it ain't just all about travel. I'm becoming more and more self-aware about why I'm experiencing some of the things that I'm experiencing in my late 20s. And I'm gonna talk about what's been going on. Okay, everybody not gonna be able to relate and understand and empathize with some of these stories and some of these experiences that I'm about to talk about. But for the girlies that get it, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because if you stay here long enough, you might as well hit subscribe. It is what it is. Did you click it? Thank you. Watch the journey. I appreciate y'all sharing y'all comments and opinions and thoughts and synopsises and y'all personal experiences and all of the above. I just appreciate it. And I've been seeing y'all comments, and like, it's a very understandable trauma that some of y'all are sharing with traveling with people. And so I also hope that this story just kind of de-traumatize y'all from traveling with other people, because there are still ways to do it in a very organized, safe, and successful way. Let me know if y'all have any questions about traveling with a travel group, about the group Globe Drifters, or just about traveling overall. Like, I love talking to y'all and just seeing, you know, the different thoughts and perspectives and experiences that y'all share in the comments. I really appreciate y'all so much for watching. Go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to give 7-year-old you a kiss. 7-year-old you thinks you're so cool and pretty and awesome and lit, because you are.